Hi, everybody, and welcome to our call. My name is Beth Mazza. I'm an Arbonne independent consultant, and I'm a district manager in qualification for area manager.
And I am Katie Linden. I'm a regional vice president with Arbonne.
And the purpose of this call, we do our wellness workshop, and we love doing that. But a lot of times people ask, well, how do you apply it to life? And since I was recently chosen for a 90-day wellness challenge through Arbonne, I started January 2nd, I figured that I could really explain to you how you take what Arbonne gives and you apply it to your life. So I'm going to bring up really quick a picture of myself because I really think it's important that you understand where I started and who I was in December before I started this program to understand how I'm where I am today and how I'm still doing it 5 months later. So the picture on the left was taken January 2nd, and the picture on the right was taken, I believe last week, May 21st. So what I want to just share with you is the person on the left, when back in December and for the past 34 years, I really have never had a healthy relationship with food. I had dieted several times, but whenever I was dieting, I felt like I was depriving myself of something, and it would really just frustrate me and make me angry. And basically every day, the thoughts of what I should eat, what I shouldn't eat, what I can eat, what I can't eat, took up a lot of my time. And I could be successful for a short amount of time, but due to the fact that I was so angry that I was depriving myself of what I wanted, I would immediately revert back to my old ways and put the weight back on. And I have been 100 pounds and I have been over 200 pounds. And in both of those places, I was never happy with myself and I never had a healthy relationship with food. Now, for the first time in my life, I can honestly say that I have an extremely healthy relationship with food. I'm perfectly fine and perfectly happy living this healthy lifestyle. I don't feel like I'm losing out on stuff. The person on the left, or my December version of me, I could barely walk upstairs. I lived in the same outfit, like two outfits, one nice one and one every day because I had nothing that fit. And I was miserable. I was very sad. The person on the right, that's me after I ran 5 miles. I can now go shopping and feel really good about myself. I feel better than I felt in, years, really. And so I just need for everybody to know that if I can do this, I'm not exaggerating when I say that anybody can really do this program. And what Katie's going to do is she's going to explain to you, the ins and outs of Arbonne's 30-Day to Healthy Living, an abbreviated version of it. And then I'm going to just explain how I applied it to my everyday life and how I really got myself in this healthy mindset and was able to, get to where I am today and still be going strong and not feeling like I want to go back to pizza and I want to go back to drinking and I want to go back to cake and how I've got here. So I'm going to pass it over to Katie now. And
Hey.
Okay, go ahead, Katie.
I'm just going to bring this up. But first of all, I just have to say that I'm just so impressed, inspired, and so excited for Beth. I've been with her through most of her health journey, and it's just been remarkable to see. And I think she has such a gift to give everyone else. And I think it's great that we have the opportunity to share it this way with so many people, because it really is possible to make big changes. And for Beth, like you've talked about it, it's really a decision in your mind, and you have to not only view food differently, but yourself differently, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's huge.
Yeah, so the mindset piece of this, and this, I think you shared something with me, Beth, that I think is really important to share with others, that you used to, when I would tease Beth, about like eating more veggies and, oh my God, you can't go eat like that, when she would have a bad day. I'm like, you can't do that. And don't you know what you're doing to your brain and your gut? But you just said, you never saw yourself as any different, right?
Yeah. Food was something that I turned to for everything. And I had accepted the fact that I was at this point in my life overweight and unhealthy. And I made the excuses of, well, I've had kids and I have a happy marriage and I don't need to take care of myself. And it's just not, I don't need the hot body. That was what was in my mind before, but that wasn't the right way to be looking at it.
Right, exactly. Just knowing that you can deserve to be the person that you've always dreamed to be on the inside and out. And then that allows, I think, a lot of change to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And change can be scary. And so we're not going to go through the full workshop right here, but these are the 5 areas we look at. You know, there's a lot of things in our life that are hard to control, like our environment and toxins that we may be exposed to through the air, through what we put on our skin we can control, and what we put on the end of our fork we can control. And so when we know better, we can do better and make better choices. So this workshop, in a very brief summary, is about these 5 key areas to our health. The first one we really teach people about is how to create a healthy gut and how to free up our elimination organs so they can really work for us. Our elimination organs, like namely our liver, I like to think about it as like having a really bad highway with backed up traffic round the clock. It just is never freed up. And we really need to give that liver a little vacation. And one of the ways we do that is just to stop the ingesting of a lot of toxins and acidic and allergenic foods. And then we want to make our gut really healthy. So what I mean by that is when a lot of people know about probiotics right now, and probiotics are necessary in our health. They're actually extremely important, whether you're a new baby or you're elderly. Everyone should be on probiotics. And it's because we have an ecosystem in our guts. It's called a gut flora. And there's good guys and bad guys. And basically, for most of us, because we're in a standard American diet, which is a sad diet, and which has a lot of sugar and processed foods and not enough green stuff, basically, and we use antibiotics and medications, and we have stress, that grows all the bad guy bacteria. And so we need more good guys, basically. And it's important to know that about 80 to 85% of your immune system comes from your gut. And 90 to 95% of our neurotransmitters that's in our brain, that, you know, our serotonin, things that make us feel good, are developed in the gut. So if you have anxiety, if you have depression, if you have things like that going on in your head, you really want to look at the gut. So we talk a lot about how to create a healthy gut and how to free up those elimination organs so they can work better. We teach you how to eat clean, and what does that really mean? You know, the words detox and cleansing are thrown around a lot these days. And in the cleanse we're talking about, if you choose to do it, is really about eating. It's not about juicing or fasting or being deprived. It's about choosing whole foods, just the least processed, the better, and how to eliminate the things that are often most acidic, allergenic, and inflaming in our body, really. And yes, that is a lot of things that we like to eat. It's gluten, dairy, alcohol, corn, soy, caffeine, and sugar. And whatever you just freaked out on the most, like there's no way I'm giving up my cheese, or I can't imagine not having wine, or if you're a sugar person, well, that gives you a key to the thing you're probably most addicted to and most likely is doing you the most harm. So we talk about substitutions and eating plans and shopping lists and why healthy fats are so important. Many Americans are just deficient in fat, and it's the right kind of fats, right? Like coconut oil, extra virgin olive oil, 100% grass-fed butter, believe it or not. So we teach you things like that. We want to talk about the third one, which is to increase your nutrients. So the food pyramid has really changed finally, since that was not the best. It's more like a plate now, a circle, and half of your plate should be veggies. I think I have a picture, right? Coming. Close. I thought it was like the next thing. There it is. So half of your plate should really be plant-based foods, lots of green, lots of color. A little quarter of your plate should be a protein, and it can be vegan if you want. You can use beans and lentils. And if you're using animal proteins, they really want to be healthy, happy animals. They want to be like free-range, organic chicken, or 100% grass-fed beef or lamb. We can have wild-caught fish, things like that. Then you want to have a small portion of your plate whole grain, like a brown rice, a quinoa, a farro, a organic sweet potato, things like that. And then the fat you can't really see, but you really want to use a lot of fat if it's the right kind of healthy fats, and you put that all over the place. Some people are very sensitive to grains. If they are sensitive to grains and carbs, and sometimes people even eliminate these on the cleanse, or they wait to have them until their dinner. So we give lots of tips, and we talk about all these things throughout the workshop. And then the fourth, talking about balancing blood sugar and your pH. So that's about whether foods are acidic or alkaline. And we want to be somewhere in the middle. But again, standard American diet tends to make us skew pretty acidic. And we talk about, for example, caffeine. Caffeine, like for example, a cup of coffee has some health benefits actually. If it's organic, it has antioxidants that are good for us. And that little bit of caffeine isn't really the problem. It's when we have our venti lattes and we drink caffeinated drinks all through the day. Caffeine and those teas and coffees tend to be very acidic. And for example, even a soda, 1 can of soda is on the pH scale of about 2.5. That's very acidic, very low. So you'd have to drink about 30 glasses of water to neutralize your pH. And because no one really does that after they have a cup of coffee, tea, or a soda, your body needs to neutralize that pH somehow, and it's going to leach, nutrients and phosphorus and calcium from our bones, most likely, and other places in the body. So that's why being pH balanced is pretty important. And we want to, when we're eating more veggies and more alkaline forming things like lemons and limes, watermelon actually is good, and things like that, our pH is neutralized, our body is less inflamed, and it can really function better. And of course, we think about insulin. We don't want to spike our blood sugar, and we want to be more even through the day. Fats really help with that, and having watching out on the carbs, the amount of carbs you're taking in, and the kind of carbs, and obviously not having blood sugar spikes all day. So we'll talk about all that. And lastly, of course, we touch on exercise, sleep, and mindfulness, because as I was just talking about with Beth, it's the mindset that really makes the difference. If you tell yourself there's no way I could do that, well then you're right. So if you tell yourself you can't, you can't. And if you tell yourself you can, you absolutely can. So you want to think about getting your mindset right, saying it's totally possible. And that's what Beth is really here to be a living testimony to.
Yes.
And you do want to sweat. You do want to move. In the beginning, if you're doing a full-on cleanse, sometimes you have low energy, and that's okay. You want to get good sleep, but then you want to increase your exercise. Our bodies need to be under a little bit of stress to grow. That's how you grow a muscle. That's how your heart grows and your lungs, and sweat is the best detox ever. So you want to move your body for sure. It doesn't have to be crazy and intense, but we want to move, and we definitely want to get good sleep. So those are the 5 keys to health. And with that, I'm going to turn it back to Beth. So I'm going to show the daily plan. You're going to bring it to life.
Okay. The one thing I want to touch on too, when you say mindfulness, because for me, because I've dieted in the past, the mindset was the biggest challenge for me. And in the beginning, obviously it's much harder because you're still adjusting to your new lifestyle. And, now though, and I find myself coaching so many people that are doing this with this realization. For example, I was at a baby shower this weekend, and they were making waffles. They were making red velvet waffles and regular waffles, and there was chocolate syrup and strawberry syrup, and there was lemon breaded chicken and potato. I mean, there was the most delicious spread of food there, and the smells were amazing. And my plate was the salad and the roasted veggies and the fruit. And everybody was looking at me kind of like, oh my God, you poor thing. Or, you don't want to eat this. But what I had to keep telling myself was, yes, I would have probably gotten 5 minutes of instant gratification of the taste of that food. It would have been, I'm sure it was delicious. But I'm not doing something for instant gratification right now. And when you are taking control over your health, and you're trying to heal your body, and you're trying to lose weight and live a healthier lifestyle, that is long term. That is years. That is something you're working towards. And that 5 minutes of tasting that fresh pressed waffle, that would have defeated everything I'm doing. So why would I want to do that? And yes, before, of course, I would have done that. I would have had 3 plates of food, and I would have gone home feeling sick and stuffed, and it didn't matter because it was delicious. But what was that going to do for me? Nothing. I was told, and I'm often told by, my nutritionist friends and my healthy friends, that what you put in your body is either fuel or poison. If it is not doing something good, it's not just sitting there, it is doing something bad. So you have to just make the choice. And once you have a decided mind, I said to one of my friends, if I told you I'd give you $1 million to do this for a month, could you do it? Because if you could, then you can do it without the $1 million. So with that being said, I get asked a lot, what did you do? So this is a great example. The evolution products, I did take those. Those were part of the challenge. I took the full control 30 minutes before every meal. And that is it's a fiber that expands in your stomach. It helps you feel full and it helps stop sugar absorption. And the Thermo Boost I took before my breakfast and my lunch, and that uses thermogenesis to kind of heat up and burn fat. For my breakfast, I always had Arbonne protein shake. I did add the fiber, the Digestion Plus. I did not add fruit to my shakes, and I used water. I didn't need the coconut milk or almond milk. I could have, but I was choosing to, just have the water and then eat more later in the day. I always had a detox tea, and I did use the Arbonne vitamins. For snacks, I only snacked if I was hungry. If I wasn't hungry, I didn't want to eat because, again, that was something that I used to do. So, most days I had 1 or 2 snacks, but if I wasn't hungry, I didn't force food down. I typically had some eggs or a green apple, organic green apple, or some berries, some raw organic cashews or almonds. For lunch, again, I would do the evolution. I would do a shake for lunch. The way I cleansed was 2 shakes, 1 meal a day. And it was enough for me. I always thought people were crazy that did that, truthfully. I always thought, how could you do that and feel full and satisfied? But truthfully, it's very simple. So I would have another shake the same way without the Digestion Plus, but I would have another shake like I did in the morning. And that's Arbonne's 30 Days to Healthy Living and Beyond plan does give you enough to have the 2 shakes a day. But if not, the lunch on here, that is a very common meal that I would have at my house. For snack, again, if I was hungry, I also would snack on peppers and hummus because I could have that, and that was a nice salty snack for me. For dinner, I would do my full control, and then I would have I would have my starch, I would have my veggies, I would have my protein. I would always add in a healthy oil. And my plate basically would look just like what Katie's plate looked like earlier. People often ask me if I measured or counted calories. I did have to count calories for the challenge just to prove that I was eating enough because I was like, a part of like the study. But I stopped counting calories after that. And I didn't really count them. Some days I would eat 1,200. Some days I would eat 1,800. I never kept track of it because I never went into this too thinking how important it is that I lose weight. I went into this thinking it's so important that I heal my body. I was a mess and I needed to get healthy. So calories, it was a non-issue. I was going to eat when I was hungry. I was just going to eat the right foods. And that's what I did. And that's what I'm still doing 5 months later. And I'm still, changing shape and losing weight. I know I put the picture up, but I did lose 44 pounds and 45 inches. So I've really transformed myself majorly. So I'm just trying to think. I know people ask me about exercise too. In the beginning, I did move. I would walk or use the elliptical. I tried to do like 20 minutes 3 times a week, but again, it was very heavy. It was very uncomfortable. Now, obviously, things have changed, and I'm a runner for the first time in my life. And I really look forward to my exercise, and it feels great. And it definitely helps. So just what's most important for me to share with you is that I was really, I was an out of control mess who food consumed my life. And, if there's that term food addict, overeater, that was me 100%. I was obsessed basically with food, whether I should or shouldn't eat it. And now I'm not. And it has to be this plan because I've done everything else out there 10 times over. And this has just taught me and given me the tools to learn how to really just take care of my body. And now, I don't think about food as something bad or good, or I just look at my meals as something that's going to fuel me to get through till tomorrow. And it's it's really, it's just been an amazing way to change your life. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that for me to be able to do this, and my challenge was up after 90 days, and that would have been the perfect time for me to say, I'm done. And I'm not done. I'm far from done. That anybody could do it. Oh, and that is one more thing. People keep asking me what happens when you're done. And I have to keep telling them, this is a lifestyle change. Just because I'm on vacation doesn't mean I'm going to eat pounds of ice cream. Just because it's my birthday doesn't mean I'm going to go out for pasta, pizza, and wine. I don't want to. I think about how it would make me feel, and it's just not worth it. I can go out and have a delicious steak and veggies, and I'm not depriving myself of anything. And so it's never really going to be done. This is our new way of life. And I'm totally okay with it. And that's the shocking part.
Yeah. And Beth, I wanted to, I think one of the reasons you've had such success is you did it long enough.
Yeah.
And if you talk about that for a second, for someone that wants to embark on this, it's not easy in the beginning, right?
No.
So what's the first week?
The first week you still have physical cravings. And I did do weekly videos showing the difference and what I was going through. If you go to YouTube, you can look up Beth Mazza experience and check those out too. But the first week I remember specifically laying in bed and saying to my husband, like my mouth was literally watering, like a physical water for like a meatball grinder and red wine. Like I probably would have killed for one. It was a physical reaction to wanting it. It wasn't just my head. And then the next day it got a little easier. And then once the physical cravings were gone, then it was all just my mindset. And putting the vision board up to remind me, what I wanted, what my goals were. Obviously I had other goals other than just the challenge up there. But when I walked by and saw that person with the 6-pack, it reminded me, okay, you want that. Or when I walked by and saw the healthy plate of food, it reminded me that's what you're going towards. And for someone like me, sometimes you need those little reminders to keep you focused. Because in the beginning, it's not a habit yet. You're still breaking all your old habits. And then you start creating all your new habits. So it definitely did take some time. The first snowstorm we had, I will always say, we weren't buying booze and junk food, and we didn't know what to do with ourselves. We were at the store, we're like, what do we buy? We're going to be snowed in. What are we going to do? And we worked out and we joked about it, but it was still an adjustment, and it was bizarre,
Yeah. And Beth, thank you for sharing that. And I think the other big tip that I was really struck by that you shared with, it was the knowledge of understanding that a little cheat, like you're making your kids food and throwing in a little pasta in your mouth or a little cookie or a little something, the knowledge that actually changes your gut health and which changes the brain. So every time you do those little cheats, you're not starting over, but it's starting to populate the bad guys again, and your brain chemistry is so tied. So to share that? Yeah,
that was a huge thing, and that really kept me going too, because typically that's what I would do. Well, what's one piece of pasta going to do, or what's a couple little candies going to do? If I'm, it's not going to be the end of the world. It's not that many calories, but looking at it from the whole gut health perspective, that it was going to affect my gut, which is what I was essentially healing. I didn't want to have the bacteria start to regrow. And it really, that stopped me. From having any little cheats. I didn't have any cheats. And I think because my gut was healing psychologically, that is why this was so much easier for me, because I was really, I saw a huge difference in myself cutting out the sugar and the processed food just mentally. There was a huge difference. And I don't, and that's the thing, like, I don't want to eat those foods anymore. Because I know what they're going to do to my gut. And all winter when everybody's sicker than a dog, I haven't had an antibiotic since prior to January 2nd.
And that's huge because you used to have them a lot.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I was always on them. I'm trying to think, did I need one? Maybe I may have had one thing where I got sick, but I don't think so.
And for everyone to understand, when you go on an antibiotic, it strips all your bacteria. So then your immune system is actually very vulnerable. And then what you repopulate it with, is important, because if you're eating like a typical your sick diet and you're eating toast, maybe cheese, eggs, like kind of the food, but then that's all that bacteria that's going to populate the bad stuff. So it's just really important to be mindful of that. And just, Beth, I think, be helpful for people to hear like your favorite foods, like when you can't eat gluten and dairy and, alcohol, caffeine, sugar.
Yeah.
What do you enjoy eating now?
I don't know, because I enjoy everything I eat. I don't look at food anymore as something that's going to make me happy. It's before the flavors, the tastes, the treats, it did something for me. It was this reward that I then hated myself for, but it did something. And now I don't even look at food like that anymore. I love what I eat. I look forward to eating. Last night I asked my kids what my favorite food was, and they said peas. It's not peas, but that's what they're seeing me eat, is just veggies. I'm trying to think if there's something that I make that stands out, but I like the Arbonne fit shoes. Those are my sweet treat. Or like now I will have some of those like cacao nibs, those little, that you can't have during the cleanse portion, but they're not the worst thing. Sometimes I'll have a couple little morsels if I want chocolate. I make our protein bars from scratch, and that's like my brownie with my detox tea. I'm trying to think.
No, well, that's good. I think, what it demonstrates, is it demonstrates how food is shifted.
Yes.
It's not this thing. It's just, you kind of eat to live instead of live to eat.
Yeah.
And that's what we just hope everyone learns from this today, that it's possible, even if you've had a whole lifetime of having that complicated relationship with food, if you give it enough time and you stick to it, your brain chemistry changes and then your habits change. And so Beth did a 90-day challenge. I do think when you have a lot of habits, that I think 90 days is really a great benchmark, because even a month is awesome. But the habits aren't completely solidified, so it could be very easy to take some new habits but go back. So if you really want to do it, we would encourage a long time. We have Facebook groups to help support you.
Yeah.
If you're our direct clients, we coach you too. And I think that's a perk about this.
And one thing that Katie always taught me too, with everything in life, when I would say I'm in a funk or I'm this or I'm that, she would always remind me that I'm the one that has 100% control over changing that. So even with food, I decided that I was going to make the change, and I was the only person that had control over that. I had 100% control over whether or not I was going to succeed, no matter how much I tried to say I can't, or I'll go back to my old habits. I was saying that in Vegas. I was scared that now that it was over, I knew how I was in the past, and I was afraid of going back. And then it all of a sudden clicked one night in Vegas where I said, that's not who I am anymore. I no longer have to fear going back like I always did in the past, because I have the control to not do that. And
yeah,
that's Katie putting that in my head.
Well, it's huge. And I think, but that is the power, and we have so much more power than we realize. And I think, but that's the thing, you now had a track record, right? You had 3 months in a row where you proved to yourself you're in control, and then it's not torture, and that you can enjoy other foods, and you can be at a party and you don't have to eat everything. And you can have, and Beth does, she can have some, and you don't fall off the wagon either.
Yeah.
But most of this cleanse has been cleansing the mind.
More so than anything else. My head is, I'm a completely different person, and I look like a completely different person, but it's more so my head and where I was before and where I am now, that I'm shocked. I really didn't know that this was how intense and amazing this change would be overall. So.
Right. Well, I'm such a pleasure to have been part of your journey. And
yes, thank you.
So psyched for you. And I hope this helps everybody out there.
Yes, thank you. If you have any other questions, please feel free to reach out. But thank you for listening to us. Bye.